Well, this is our little Zoe. She's one of our very new little baby girls. And she's on the wheel. And she was from the rescue litter we took in. There was just one little girl and 7 boys. And I've just got Zoe in here to show you. When she turned up, they'd been kept in very smelly conditions, and she did smell really bad, as her brothers also did. And sometimes when you get rats, they do smell pretty awful. If they are not actually smeared with their own drop-ins and they're just a little bit smelly, what I would do is leave them for a couple of days, and you might find the smell wears off. And that's basically what has happened with little Zoe here. She'd never been handled, so this isn't going to be easy. I wouldn't have knelt to dip her into a bowl of water or anything. She doesn't like being picked up. She's at that nibbly stage as well, so it's quite difficult. But I just thought I'd show you what I would do. Hey, darling. If she was very dirty, I would have her in my spare cage with a bowl of water. No, don't you climb out. A bowl of water that's lukewarm, so it just doesn't feel hot or cold. Get some thin flannels, like just the cheap basic ones, ones you can pick up really cheaply, pound shops and things like that, the very thin ones, and have that in some warm water. Rinse it out before you start, and have a spare one for just patting your rat dry. And don't use any shampoo or anything. It's very important with young rats. Some shampoos say 6 weeks, and I've even seen some that say 12 weeks. So never get the face wet. But what you can do is you can dip the flannel into the lukewarm water, and immediately Zoe's very suspicious. I could take the wheel out to make this easier. But what I will do is when she comes over, come on Zoe, I will just gently wipe her with this cloth. And I'll do the same if she has got messed up with her own drop-ins. I would have several bits of cloth. I might cut a flannel up and just chuck it away afterwards. But what we do is, she's going to be very jumpy and nervous, is just wipe down her back. There we go. I might have to take the wheel out to show you. When she comes around here, I'll show you. But just have damp water, damp flannel, sorry. Have some nice paper in the corner for her to go in. Hello, darling, look. And just gently wipe your rats. If you can hold your rat, if they've been tamed, then hold her in one hand and then just gently wipe her back with the other. Or you can dip their little feet in the bowl, and it's far easier if they have been handled to able to clean them up. I say with Zoe it is very difficult because she hadn't been handled. We've only had her a few days now. The smell has actually worn off, and what I did was after about 3 days I actually changed the bed in, and then I couldn't smell anything bad at all. Oops, oh dear. Getting the hang of the wheel. But make sure that there's no drafts and the room is comfortable temperature. You don't want your rat to get chilled. And what I've got in the corner here is a big pile of safe bed paper for her to go into. And something that's very important with young rats is that you don't have great big long pieces of paper. The safe bed comes all compacted up, so you have to pull it out and rip it into pieces, but make sure it's short pieces, not longer than a few inches, and fluff it up so it's really, really soft. So I'd say, you know, no longer than that. Lots of short pieces of paper. Hello, darling. So what we would do with our flannel, if we see little Zoe's gone here, is we just gently wipe down her back, and then we'd get some more clean water. Good girl, you're having a little wash, and we would just wash her like that. And then we would get the dry flannel and we'd just gently wipe off any moisture. But the smell's gone off of Zoe already. Oops, my camera's wobbling. But you know, it is difficult because if you can't handle the rat, you don't want to traumatise them. But I would say if the smell's not too bad and they're not actually smeared in their own drop-ins, leave them a couple of days and hopefully the smell will wear off. Never use shampoo on these little rats, and just gently wipe the bits that you think are smelly. Obviously, if they are very dirty and very smelly, and see, leave the water in and they will get in the bowl themselves. They love water, rats. They love playing in water. So that they can probably do the underneath themselves. Hello, little gorgeous. Here she comes. Oops, trying to see you here. I'm going to be wobbling everywhere with this camera. But little Zoe, because she was the only girl, is going to stay with us. We're not going to rehome her on her own somewhere. That would be quite cruel. We're going to get her in with our other girls. At the moment, we're hoping to put her in with the 6 month, well, not 6 months, they're 8 months now, nearly 9 months, the 9-month-old girls. But she's a bit small at the moment and they're very boisterous. So we have our wonderful girl Blossom, who's been an adoptive mummy to all the rats that we've taken. And we're letting little Zoe spend some time with Blossom every day, very similar to what we did with Dawn and the babies earlier this year. So that's our little girl Zoe, and you know, don't worry too much about cleaning them up, because the smell generally does wear off. But I say, if they're very dirty, a bowl of lukewarm water inside the spare cage, then if the little rats spring out of your hands, you're not going to lose them on the floor. If you don't have a spare cage, you can do this in your main cage, and just might be an idea to put a towel in the bottom of the cage, or a folded up sheet or a tea towel or something, and if the bedding gets wet, then obviously change the bedding. But you might find, like Zoe, that your little rat will pop into the water. But that's little Zoe.